All right, so boxing, huh? When you hear that, what comes to mind? I bet it's something pretty intense, right? Like some serious physical stuff. But for this deep dive, uh, and looking at what you sent over, it looks like we're going way beyond just like the surface. We're really going to explore all the surprising stuff about boxing, like how it gets you in amazing shape, how it's actually a really skillful, athletic thing, and even the self-defense part. Oh, and did I mention the whole confidence boost?
Yeah, you hit it right on the head there. It seems like you're curious about getting fit in a new way, or maybe even learning how to protect yourself if you need to. And hey, maybe it's even about that mental toughness you get from something as demanding as boxing. Think of this deep dive as your VIP pass, a way to really understand the basics without getting lost in all the technical jargon.
Exactly. It's like we're taking you through it all, from the gear you need to the basic moves like how to stand and those classic punches. And of course, we got to cover the training, heavy bag, shadowboxing, all that good stuff. And yeah, we'll even get into defending yourself and what it's like to actually spar. The main thing is we're going to break down what's most important for you based on what you sent us.
It's pretty cool how this beginner's guide talks about the boxer's workout. It's not just about being strong or hitting hard. It's called aerobically supercharged, which means you get a crazy good cardio workout, but you also improve your balance and coordination. And of course, there's the self-defense part, which is never a bad thing. It really shows you why so many people are incorporating these boxing workouts into their fitness routines.
It feels like how people see boxing is changing too. Your source mentions new champions that people view in a different light than the old school tough guys. And then you have women's boxing, which has definitely made the sport more appealing to a lot more people. Remember Christy Martin on the cover of Sports Illustrated back in 1997? Right after the Tyson-Bruno fight? It was a big deal.
There's something primal about boxing. The author talks about how we all kind of want to know we can handle ourselves if we need to. Boxing is often seen as the foundation for American combat sports. I mean, there's a ton of martial arts out there, but boxing has that basic human need to rely on yourself and be able to protect yourself, right?
So let's get down to brass tacks. The book goes deep on the mindset of someone starting with boxing, and the author's personal motivation is pretty clear. They call it that primal pull. Basically, they're drawn to being physically tough, being able to defend themselves, the competition aspect, and even using it to channel aggression in a good way. Does any of that sound familiar? Like maybe why you're interested in this in the first place?
Absolutely. It speaks to some basic human instincts, and the book quickly jumps into the workout part, which they call the mega workout. What stood out to me was how much it emphasizes getting you in shape from every angle. It's not just about one thing, it's about strength, endurance, and coordination all rolled into one crazy intense workout. The author actually says no other sport they've tried comes close to the pure physical demands of boxing. Hitting the bag, sparring, even jumping rope, it's all seriously intense.
But it's not just your body, right? There's a whole mental side to it, too.
Hmm.
The source actually talks about cranial relief and calls boxing the ultimate attitude adjustment. It seems like just 20 minutes of whacking that heavy bag can just melt away all the stress and frustration from your day.
Totally. It's that classic connection between pushing yourself physically and feeling better mentally. That rhythmic thump of hitting the bag really can be a great stress reliever. Plus, the book highlights how learning to defend yourself physically can actually make you more confident. It's one of the most basic forms of self-confidence, right? Knowing you can handle yourself.
Which brings us to this cool idea they call confidence not to fight. It's saying that learning boxing won't make you want to pick fights. In fact, it might actually make you less likely to be aggressive because you feel more secure. You don't have to prove anything. It's like that old martial arts saying. True confidence in your ability to handle yourself can actually de-escalate potential conflicts, especially in your own mind.
It's kind of a paradox, isn't it? But then there's the fun factor, too. The author actually uses the word whoopee when talking about how exciting and intense each 3-minute round is. They compare it to being in a high-energy action movie, which gives you a pretty good idea of what it's like.
Totally. But let's be real, people have those initial hesitations. They think about the sweat, the strain, the whole violence thing. The book reframes all that, though, saying it's a good way to let out energy and that as long as you have the right gear and guidance, boxing isn't just some street brawl. It's a refined athletic thing all about technique and efficiency. Plus, facing those fears in a safe place like the gym can actually be a pretty freeing experience.
Oh, and for those thinking of taking their training beyond just working out, they briefly mention USA Boxing, which is the organization that governs amateur and Olympic-style boxing here in the U.S. They're a big deal for developing the sport and organizing all kinds of boxing events.
Okay, so let's say you're hooked and you're thinking about giving it a shot. What do you absolutely need? Well, your source has two shopping lists. The A list is for starting that basic boxer's workout right away, and then there's the B list for if you're thinking about getting into sparring later on.
Let's start with the A-list, your boxing starter pack. You'll need the basics like t-shirts, shorts, or sweats, athletic socks, and sneakers that fit well and give you good support. Eventually, you might want high tops for extra ankle support, but regular sneakers work fine for now. Then you've got to protect those hands, so you'll need hand wraps. The kind with Velcro closures are easiest to use, and the author prefers the Mexican-style wraps because they're longer and offer more protection. Back in '98, they cost about $6.
All right, next on the A list are bag gloves. Now, these are different from sparring gloves. They're made specifically for hitting the heavy bag and have different padding to protect your hands when you're pounding away at it. Back then, a decent pair of 12-ounce leather gloves with a wide Velcro strap would set you back $50 to $60. The book really stresses getting good quality gear for durability and, most importantly, for your own safety, even though there are cheaper options out there.
Then, of course, you need something to hit. That means a heavy bag. A typical bag is about 14 inches around, 42 inches tall, and weighs around 70 pounds. The author went for a canvas bag with a regular or hard fill, which cost about $80 back in the day, including all the stuff to hang it up. Don't forget about a jump rope. That should be the cheapest thing on your list, probably less than $10. And lastly, if you've got someone to train with, punch mitts are super useful. Those padded targets you hold for each other run about $50.
Now for the B list, the stuff for when you're ready to spar. But hold your horses. You shouldn't even think about sparring until you got the basics down, and you can go a few rounds on the heavy bag without getting totally wiped out. First up is headgear. The book makes it clear, don't skimp on this. Get headgear that really covers your chin, cheeks, and forehead. Lace-up straps are best to keep it in place while you're sparring. Good headgear cost about $70 back in '98.
After headgear comes the mouth guard. Definitely don't skip this unless you're cool with getting your teeth messed up. Those boil and bite ones are cheap, less than $10, and they work well. You just soften them in hot water and mold them to your teeth. Next up are sparring gloves. These are totally different from bag gloves. They're designed to protect both you and your sparring partner. The author had 14-ounce gloves with extra padding and Velcro straps. Good quality leather ones cost around $135 back then. Again, investing in good gear here is super important for safety.
Last but not least on the B list is groin protection. The author calls it the mother of all jock straps, basically, a girdle-like thing that protects your groin, hips, and kidneys that ran about $45. Apparently, a regular athletic supporter and cup just don't cut it for boxing. And just a heads up, they make special groin protectors for women and even gloves that are designed to fit women's hands better.
One last thing about buying all this stuff. The book recommends checking out boxing catalogs like Everlast or Wingside instead of just going to a regular sporting goods store. Apparently, the quality of the equipment can be hit or miss in those bigger stores. It even gives you the phone numbers for those catalogs from back in the day. Can you believe that?
Okay, so you've got the gear, but now you got to know how to use it, starting with the boxer's stance. This is like your foundation, and the book gets super specific about it. For a right-handed boxer, your left foot should be a bit forward, feet about shoulder width apart. Bend your knees a bit, keep those elbows tucked in, forearms up to protect yourself, and hands up around chin to cheek level, palms facing in. And this is important. Keep your head tilted slightly forward so you're kind of looking out from under your eyebrows. The key is to be ready to attack or defend and to stay loose and balanced, not all stiff and tense.
What's interesting is how much emphasis they put on your lower body. They talk about the box trot, saying that boxing is as much about footwork as it is about punching. They even compare it to dancing, where you have to move quickly and smoothly, always keeping your balance so you can attack or defend effectively.
Yeah, and they break down movement in all directions. Moving forward, you step with your lead foot first. That's your left foot if you're right-handed. Then your right foot follows, keeping that shoulder width stance. Going backwards, you lead with your right foot. The biggest rule is to always keep that good boxer stance. Don't overstep, don't cross your feet, and don't let your feet get too close together.
They have these four main directions for moving forward, backward, to your lead side, left, and to your rear side, right? No matter which way you go, you always step first with the foot that's in that direction, and then the other foot slides to catch up, always staying balanced and shoulder width apart. Keep those steps low and close to the ground for speed and stability.
Moving side to side follows the same lead foot rule. Left foot steps first when you move left, right foot first when you move right, always those short sliding steps. Then there's pivoting, where your front foot is like the anchor, and your back foot swings around it. Make sure you keep your balance and your stance solid the whole time. And finally, they have this pivot and slide move for quick changes in direction. You sweep your back foot and pivot on the ball of your front foot, keeping that front foot glued to the ground.
It's all about staying grounded, keeping your balance, and being ready to react, which is tougher than it sounds. This footwork stuff is super important, but a lot of people don't realize it.
Okay, you're moving like a pro. Now let's talk punching. First things first, you got to know how to make a proper fist. It seems basic, but it's super important. The right way is to have your thumb on the outside of your fist, resting below your fingers, not tucked inside. And here's the kicker. You don't clench your fist all the way until right before you hit something. Keep those hands relaxed and ready until they're about to connect, then tighten up and immediately relax again as you pull your hand back. This is all about maximizing power while saving energy.
Yeah, that whole energy efficiency thing is key in boxing. And the book even gives a shout out to the southpaws, the lefties out there. They just have to reverse all the instructions, like switching their stance and everything.
All right, let's get to the punches themselves, starting with the jab. Your source calls this the most important punch in boxing, the one you'll use the most. You throw it with your lead hand, left for a righty, straight from your chin, right at your target. As your hand comes out, your fist rotates a bit, getting tighter and tighter until it connects, and then you immediately relax it and pull it back to your guard.
What's great about the jab is it doesn't mess up your defense. Your chin stays tucked behind your shoulder and your feet are planted. It's called the busiest weapon because it's so quick and you can use it to score points, keep your distance, set up those bigger punches, and tire your opponent out. Think of it like your feeler, your measuring stick, the thing that sets up everything else. It's not just a punch. It's how you gather information and control the fight.
And even though it's not usually a knockout punch, the book says those constant, well-placed jabs can do some real damage over time. You can even add power to it by twisting your hips a little and stepping in as you throw it. The author was even told that a jab is all you really need in a street fight because you can throw it without losing your balance or leaving yourself wide open. Apparently, a good jab can break a nose and end a fight right there.
Definitely a fundamental move. Next up is the straight right for a right-handed fighter. This is one of your big power punches. It all starts with the power from your right leg moving up through your hips and torso. When you throw it, your right heel pivots outwards, adding to that twisting motion. That weight transfer to your right side is what gets the punch going. But because your whole body's involved, you're a little off balance for a second, so you gotta snap your hand back to your guard fast. The book says it's best after a jab or as a counter when your opponent attacks.
Now let's talk about the left hook. This is the one beginners struggle with because it's got those little details that take time and practice to get right. It's an inside power punch, so it works best when you're in close. You start by shifting your weight to your left side. Your left elbow comes up about level with your shoulder, making that hook shape, and your fist rotates palm down for close targets, turning in a bit for targets further away. But the real power comes from pivoting your left foot, your left leg, and your torso all together, sharply to the right, in one smooth motion. Your arm doesn't move on its own. It's all driven by the force from your legs, hips, and back.
The book uses a great analogy. It's like a gate swinging on its hinges. When you do it right, the left hook is a seriously powerful punch. The author even mentions a helpful tip. Think about crushing peanuts with the ball of your left foot as you pivot. And hey, buddy, come on over here as you swing your hand back towards your chest.
All right, next we have the left uppercut. This one's for close-range fighting too, and the power comes mostly from your legs and torso, not just your arm. You start by dipping your left shoulder a bit, bringing your elbow closer to your hip, and turning your fist so your palm faces up. Then, without any big wind-up, you drive the punch upwards, using all that power from your left side. The right uppercut is basically the same thing, just mirrored.
The book gives you some important reminders about punching in general. Always punch from a balanced stance so you've got power, accuracy, and you can get back to your guard fast. Straight punches, like your jabs and straight rights, lefts, don't need any wind-up. All punches should be snapped, accelerate towards the target, make a sharp impact, and then back to your guard. And never forget about your other hand. It stays in its guard position, always protecting you. Also, remember to breathe. Exhale with every punch, those short, sharp breaths.
You've got those individual punches down. Now let's chain them together for some serious offense. The book says using 2 or more punches in a combo, done with the right technique, is way more effective than just throwing one punch at a time. It starts with the double and triple jab. It's simple but effective. You're just throwing those quick jabs one after another, making sure you get back to your stance and guard after each one so you can keep your power and accuracy. This is a pretty safe way to hit multiple times from a distance.
Then there's the classic 1-2 combo, jab followed by a straight right. The idea is to use the jab to distract your opponent, maybe even lift their chin a little, which opens them up for that powerful right hand. It all has to flow together smoothly, with quick, crisp movements, staying balanced, and snapping back to your guard after the right.
Now add a third punch, and you've got the 1-2-3 combo.
Yeah.
Jab, straight right, left hook. This one feels natural because the way you move for the jab and right sets you up perfectly to pivot and throw that hook. You want to use the jab to get a reaction, land that right, and then smash that hook into the side of their head or their temple.
The book then talks about power combos, like the right-left and left-right, which usually involve your straight right and left hook. The trick here is coordinating how you shift your weight to get that twisting motion for each punch. As soon as one punch lands, you should already be moving your weight to set up the next one. It's not just about arm strength, it's using your whole body. These combos are popular for fighters who like to get in close because you can attack from two angles really fast.
And don't forget about uppercuts. You can mix those into your combos too, adding another level of attack. Combining straights, hooks, and uppercuts is super effective because you're hitting from all angles, making your opponent defend high and low. The book points out how you switch sides with each punch in these longer combos, like left, right, and so on. They even give you a 6-punch drill. Jab, straight right, left uppercut, straight right, left hook, right uppercut.
Remember though, with any combo, always bring that punching hand back to your guard after every single punch. It's easy to forget when you're just starting out, but if you don't, you're wide open for a counter, and your next punches won't have as much power. Getting tired makes this worse because dropping your hands is one of the first signs of fatigue in a fight or training.
So you've learned the moves, now it's time to practice. The book talks about 2 main ways to train: shadowboxing and the heavy bag. Shadowboxing is basically practicing your footwork, your rhythm, your punches, and even your defense, but without a real opponent. It's a great way to figure out your technique, and they recommend doing it in front of a mirror so you can see how you're moving. You can practice moving in all directions, work on those jabs while stepping, and even practice different rhythms and tempos with your moves and punches.
The heavy bag is a different beast. That's your ticket to developing power and snapping your punches. It's also a great way to just let off some steam. Hitting a bag over and over might seem boring, but the book says it's actually pretty engaging, even therapeutic. Always wear your hand wraps and bag gloves to protect those hands, though. Try to hit the bag with the front of your fist right in the middle so it doesn't swing too wildly, and aim to connect as the bag comes back down. Straight punches are usually best when the bag is swinging towards you, while hooks work better when it's moving side to side. Short, sharp punches at the right time can help you control that swing.
The book gives you some specific heavy bag drills too. For jabs, focus on finding your range, snapping the punch out, not pushing, and getting back to your guard fast. When you're practicing that straight right, make sure you're twisting your torso and pivoting that foot. For the left hook, get close to the bag and really concentrate on that pivot and full body rotation. Uppercuts need close range too, and they should feel like you're driving the punch up from your hips. You can also work on those multiple jabs in a row, the 1-2 combo, the 1-2-3 right-left and left-right power combos, and, this is important, moving around the bag while keeping your balance and rhythm as you punch. And finally, practice those step-in and step-out combos, which is tricky but super important for when you're in an actual fight.
It's all about building that muscle memory and figuring out how your body moves when you've got a target that's moving too, even if it's just a bag.
Okay, you know how to hit, but what about not getting hit? Your guide has a section all about basic defense and how to counterattack. First, they remind you that basic boxer stance is your first line of defense. Chin down, hands up, arms protecting your body, and knees bent so you can move fast. Adding footwork and some subtle head movement makes you even harder to hit.
One basic defensive move is catching a jab. When a jab comes at you, you bring your right glove up in front of your face, chin tucked down, and pivot your right foot a bit, bracing that right leg. The goal is to catch that jab right in your glove. Be firm and get right back to your guard. However, the book says don't try to catch a straight right. Those are too powerful. You're better off parrying those with a quick slap from your left glove to deflect it away from your head, maybe even messing up their balance a bit. For body shots, you use a sweeping motion with your arm to deflect the punch out while pivoting and sliding away at the same time.
Then you've got blocks. When a punch is coming, you can just bend your knees a bit. This brings your hands up to protect your head, and your elbows and forearms naturally drop to cover your body. It's not a full duck, just a slight bend, and you got to get back to your stance right away. Ducks are a bigger move. You bend your knees more and come up in a V shape, moving away from the punch, which puts you in a good spot to counter. Don't bend at the waist or lose sight of your opponent, and keep those hands up. And, just like with everything else, get back to your stance fast.
Slips are those smooth sideways head movements you use to dodge straight punches. You need to see the punch coming and have good neck muscles for this. It's better than blocking or catching because you're not even getting hit. You can practice slips by dodging a swinging rope. The movement should come from your neck and head, not from bending over or dipping your shoulders.
And then there's counterpunching. That's when you hit back right after blocking, slipping, or ducking a punch, aiming for that open spot your opponent leaves. Reaction punching is like counterpunching on steroids. You react to their punch as they're throwing it and try to hit them while they're off balance. This takes guts and lightning-fast reflexes. The book says you got to fully commit and finish your counterpunches.
Your source also talks about range and finding safe spots. Knowing how far your opponent can reach with their punches is super important. If you stay outside that range, you can't get hit. But, get this, sometimes getting super close, almost inside their chest, can be a safe spot temporarily. They can't get power with a hook from that close, and it's a good position to dunk under a straight right. But don't hang out there too long. And lastly, the book points out that sometimes the best defense is a good offense. Throwing punches keeps your opponent on their toes and makes you feel more confident.
So you're learning to protect yourself, but how do you really sharpen those defensive skills? Enter punch mitts. These are those padded targets held by a coach or training partner. They're like moving targets that can hit back, so you can practice those defensive moves. It's way more challenging than the heavy bag because your target is thinking and reacting. Mitt work helps you get those punches accurate, refine your footwork and head movement, and really practice those counter techniques.
You can practice all kinds of stuff with the mitts, different combos, punches to the body and head, counterattacks after blocking, fighting from different distances by stepping in and out with the jab, and even working those slips and ducks when your partner throws punches at you. The main takeaway here is to always think about countering right after you block or slip, making that smooth transition from defense to offense.
Be warned, though, you will get hit when you're working the mitts. Ideally, it'll just be light taps, but stuff happens. That's why having a good coach and a partner you trust is so important. The book also talks about common mistakes people make with the mitts. Flinching is a natural reaction, but it's bad in boxing. You got to train yourself to keep your eyes open, focus on your partner, and extend and retract those punches fully. Another problem, especially when you're getting ready to spar, is happy feet, which is when you're constantly bouncing backward. Your partner can help fix this by blocking your back foot sometimes, so you have to stay grounded. And finally, don't forget to relax those muscles between punches. It saves energy and makes you more efficient.
Mitt work is a great way to bridge the gap between training by yourself and that crazy, unpredictable world of sparring.
So what does a typical boxer's workout look like, according to your guide? It usually starts with a good warm-up of shadowboxing. This is where you go through your stance, footwork drills, practice your rhythm, throw punches, combos, and defensive moves. You start slow and build up the intensity, doing drills like stepping in all directions, working on different rhythms, basic punches, the 1-2, the 1-2-3, jabs while moving forward and back, right hands and hooks with blocks, slips and ducks, moving towards and away from your imaginary opponent.
After shadowboxing, you hit the heavy bag. This is usually a bunch of 3-minute rounds with a 1-minute break in between. The book suggests focusing each round on a specific technique. Like one round for just jabs, then 1-2s, then 1-2-3s, then power combos, and then some free-form rounds where you work on fighting from a distance and in close.
And finally, a lot of boxers finish their workout with skipping rope. This is great for your heart and lungs, and it helps with coordination too. The book gives you a few different skipping drills, like 100 skips with both feet, then alternating feet with fewer reps each time, like 10, then 9, down to 1, running in place while you skip, swinging the rope side to side while you're running, skipping backwards, and even double jumps.
It's a really well-rounded routine that covers all those physical and technical skills you need for boxing.
And now, the moment you've probably been waiting for, with a mix of excitement and fear, sparring. Your guide says sparring is totally different from the heavy bag or mitts because you've got a real, thinking person across from you who's going to make you work for it. This is where your boxing training gets real. Having an experienced coach there is super important for safety and to make sure the sparring is productive.
Those first few times you spar should be about learning, not about trying to knock each other's lights out. The book says you should have a simple game plan for each round, maybe focusing on one combo or a specific defensive move. This is your chance to try the stuff you've been practicing on the bag and mitts against someone who's moving and thinking and trying to beat you. You have to be ready for things to go off script and learn to adjust to what's happening.
They also give you a list of classic beginner mistakes to avoid during sparring. Things like squaring up to your opponent, which makes you a bigger target and throws off your balance, telegraphing your punches or giving away what you're going to do before you do it, getting predictable with your movements and attack, reaching or pawing at your opponent without setting it up, which leaves you wide open, hesitating instead of throwing your punches with full commitment, flinching too much, getting too tired, which makes you mess up, and having sloppy technique.
It's taking everything you've learned and applying it under pressure against someone who's trying to do the same to you.
To give you some background, the book talks about the history of boxing. Early boxing matches were bare-knuckle brawls and were huge with gamblers. The rules were pretty basic back then, which made for some brutal fights. Eventually, people started getting worried about the deaths and injuries, so they made some rules to make it safer. One example is the London prize ring rules from 1838.
Weight classes started in the 1850s, with just lightweight, middleweight, and heavyweight at first. Later on, the difference between amateur and professional boxing became clearer. Organizations like the Amateur Boxing Association in England, that's the ABA, and USA Boxing in the US were formed. Amateur boxing is all about sportsmanship and skill, and you can't get paid for it. It's more like the Olympics. Professional boxing is more about knockouts and putting on a show, and there's a lot of money involved, which can lead to some not-so-great stuff.
The book mentions some big names in boxing history, like John L. Sullivan, the first American boxing hero and heavyweight champ under those new rules. Then you've got gentleman Jim Corbett, known for his strategy and fancy footwork, Bob Fitzsimmons, a smaller guy with a huge punch, Jack Johnson, who broke racial barriers, Jack Dempsey, a legend in the Roaring '20s, Gene Tunney, who beat Dempsey and was known for his skills and tough training, Joe Louis, a symbol of hope during a tough time, Rocky Marciano, the only heavyweight champ to retire undefeated, Muhammad Ali, famous for his power, grace, speed, and being outspoken, George Foreman, who made an amazing comeback later in his career, and Evander Holyfield, known for his toughness and beating the odds.
It really shows you how boxing has changed over time and all the fascinating characters who've made it what it is.
And finally, your guide has a glossary of boxing terms. Based on what we've talked about today, here are a few that might be useful or interesting. Jab, that quick straight punch with your lead hand. Left hook, a powerful punch with a bent left arm, using lots of body rotation. 1-2. The classic jab, followed by a straight right. Sparring, supervised practice fighting with a partner. And Queensberry rules, the rules that made gloves mandatory, set up 3-minute rounds with breaks, and banned wrestling and grappling, which made boxing safer and more strategic.
Knowing those basic terms really helps you understand what we've covered today.
So to wrap up our deep dives, it's clear that boxing is way more than just brute force. It's a complex and rewarding thing with a lot of benefits, from getting you in incredible shape to teaching you self-defense and even being a lot of fun. We've talked about having the right equipment, learning the basic techniques, taking it slow with your training, and knowing the difference between solo practice and sparring.
Hopefully this deep dive into your beginner's guide has been helpful and has answered some of your initial questions. It's pretty amazing how much this activity can help you develop both physically and mentally.
It really makes you realize how much discipline and hard work it takes to master even the basics of boxing. What part of all this are you most drawn to? The physical challenge, the mental toughness, or maybe the history of the sport?
And if you're still curious, the book has a whole bunch of resources you can check out. Things like USA Boxing, boxing gyms in your area, books and videos, and even the International Boxing Hall of Fame. There's so much to discover if you decide to keep going with this, even if it's just trying out the workout.
So that's it for our deep dive into the surprisingly complex and rewarding world of boxing, all inspired by the stuff you sent us. Maybe the next time you see a pair of boxing gloves, you'll see more than just a piece of equipment. You'll see the potential for a journey towards a stronger, more confident to you. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.